So, hello everybody. Today's lecture on the final topic of phase 3, structural elements, is the developmental milestones. We have been talking about the conditional factors, the mechanics, and the movements that can be done to influence those. And today we work on the movements, on the structured database of movements we are using to influence the conditional factors, mobility, stability, and pattern through mechanics, body weight shift, body weight lift, body weight lowering, rotation, and so on. So today we talk about the exercises itself. I try to keep it as strict as possible because, as you may know, the complexity of natural movement always makes it easy to leave the direct way and getting to the branches. Yep. So okay. So what I will do today is I show you the exercises, the most important exercises, and more specifically the characteristic positions of the developmental milestones. And for the understanding of why we use the developmental milestones, it is because they are the nature-given evolutionary stages of human child development, from lying on the ground to getting on two legs. This sequence is present in our dimension, or in the things we see and live in three forms. One is the oldest and longest evolution itself. It's a theory, but let's pretend evolution is real until we get something new information. But for now, it fits quite perfectly with what we are doing and what is happening. So evolution brought us from something that was getting into existence in water into a Homo erectus, just as a general species name. An interesting thing is we developed in liquid and we ended under gravity on two legs. Little base of support, little stability, and an unbelievable possibility of freedom of movement without losing the connection to everything, because we still exist mostly out of water, and we also can work in water, and we can work on gravity. So this legacy made us quite adaptable. And so that's the big story. The next little shorter story is exaggerated. It's about a 2-year trip, or let's say include the situation when the 9 months we are floating in the sea. Yeah, so these are the developmental milestones. So we start with the lying on the ground, but it still carries characteristics of our body that have been prepared in the liquid. Yeah, the liquid. Okay, let's keep this on hold and get into the third story. The shortest story of it is getting up and down from the ground as a natural human being. If it is right calculated, we spend 99% of the existence of the human Homo sapiens and all its predecessors, which were hunter-gatherers. It's about 99.9% of our of evolution. And we spend all that time as hunter-gatherers, without tables, without chairs, sitting on plain ground. You can cushion it a bit, maybe they cushioned it a bit, and moving around. What is completely unnatural is static positions in sitting on a chair and standing on a desk. That's completely unnatural, and it is wrecking everything that has to do with an adaptable and balanced human movement system. If we were static, we were a static dynamic. When we were sitting on the ground, we were moving around. We were not just sitting on the ground and looking into the fire or looking into the TV. It was a time to do stuff that has to be done in a static way. So the movement happens even in being on the ground, as well as standing. We were not standing around and waiting for the bus or looking into the screen. It was just much too energy inefficient. That means if we have been forced to stay in a spot, we were sitting down. And if this sitting down was not meant to do something, it was meant to rest. And then it was transferred into lying on the ground. And lying is the best position to evade gravity after liquid, floating in liquid. So that means the connection of the liquid in the mama's belly and lying on the ground, or the cause and effect, is quite easy to follow. Good get-ups and get-downs are actually the compression of the two quite lengthy indifference pendants. And we have even one more. You can make a fourth out of it. You can make the third, the get-ups and downs, as a subgroup. It is falling down as well as getting up as if the devil is behind you. So it's speeding it up. So we have 4 super slow exponential 6, slow 2 years, 3 seconds as a get up and get down, and 1 second as falling or explosively getting up from the ground scenario. Okay, all are the same story in different details, in different purposes, in different times, in different dimensions. What we are working on is the developmental milestones of the child, from newborn lying to quite diverse, skillful in the standing, running area. And so this is what we use to restore lost stuff, like mobility stability pattern. The next one, the get-ups and get-downs, is the compressed form. That means if you had to invest a lot of time to get some joints going again, as you should know, getting something going again takes a lot of time. Keeping it in a going state takes just a fraction, let's say 25 to 50% of the originally invested time is now just necessary to keep it where it is. And to bring something in that is even more vital, what also children had built in, is the falling experience. The falling experience, interacting with the ground without fear, because your body is equipped with it in a natural state, totally unequipped nowadays, totally out of competition with this. So as you see, if it happens, worst case stuff happens. Falling is one of the underlying reasons to most death on this planet of older people. And as you will see, sitting rising test also proving that this mismanagement of falling reflexively, intuitively is getting lost by low age also. I think 16-year-old children have already problems standing up. Youth, teens are having already problems standing up from the ground and getting down. Okay, so one of the most human traits, getting lost. Think about it. Take it earnest or not. Maybe most people take it earnest if it's too late. We take it earnest as hell. It is actually the basic of the system. The only system that is incorporating as much details and as much variations of this most vital skill of human beings, getting up and down from the ground. Okay, that's the whole story about the developmental milestones area. Okay, so now let's go into the main dish, and that's what I will show you is the developmental milestones in its variations, not in its whole extent, but just typical appearances. Sitting is very diverse. There are about 20 different sitting positions. We don't cover them today. It's just a few of them. Lying is not that diverse. Kneeling is also not very diverse. Yeah? The diversity, the most diverse stuff that is happening in the human's movement life is sitting on the ground. So it cannot be that redundant if it is unbelievable, practical and adaptable, as well as standing, because out of the standing situation, everything we know nowadays as a grown-up life, yeah, being active as a worker, being active as a hunter-gatherer, whatever you like, it all is happening on two legs. And everything that is happening on two legs is on the fundament of the ground movements. That means if you're not able to do the most basic stuff on the ground, everything that is done on two legs is very, very fragile and next to the abyss. The younger you are, the more fit you are. Let's say a soccer player, a football player has to go up to the ground depending on the game, or it's part of the game. They may be better off. Martial artists, dancers, yogis, not that much, but people that still train getting down and up fast or intense or whatever. But as we know, this is vanishing quite early. And then it becomes a life-threatening deficit. And this is why we take it at earnest. Yeah. So it's alone the distribution of variety in the developmental milestones position gives an idea about how important it is, and unbelievable is that what is happening there conditionally. And this is also what I would like to tell you and show you in a shortcut. One more fact or stuff to take into respect is that we, or the system, is made for grown-ups. And grown-ups are messed up from the ground. That means we have completely different preconditions as a newborn child. Let's take the newborn child, so the natural conditional state of a human being. So as said, 9 months of floating, almost no gravity, gives the best precondition for mobility, relaxation, softness, length. As soon as this entity is facing gravity, stability sets in. The stability is, or this tension of gravity is affecting the breath. It is affecting every movement, and this through the whole developmental milestones. In every movement, in every breath, on this best self-dictated, self-timely dictated, intuitive, observing genesis of little children must not be interfered with. We have this as a result already. It was stated at if your child is not fast enough in standing up, put it into a device and it will help. It is messing up. It is interfering with nature and it is messing you up. Guaranteed. That means we need time. Our body, the grown-up body, is completely different. We have this conditional state turned upside down. What children have the most, mobility, and least, stability and strength, is completely turned over in grown-ups. We have lost almost all mobility, chairs and standing desks, and we've built up much too much tension, stability. Systemic safety induced saving the rest of your life, stability, safety, systemic tension. It means if you bring back mobility into this rigid, stone-like organism, it will induce life like a turbo booster. Yeah, depends how fast you can adapt. But think about this. These are pictures. These are metaphors. These are relations. Yeah, and this should just give you the information of that's correct what I'm doing. This is not invented by some trainer of track and field. This is not invented by somebody who had take care on a damaged knee. This is invented by nature and is applied to about 88 million, or maybe it's already 95 billion people that ever walked the earth, and all the ancestors that already tried to stand on two legs. And even if it was not walking on two legs, it had four legs, it had a spine, it had an unbelievable complex organism already. And this is all in us. We still carry the vertebra that's about, I don't know exactly, 600 million years. So the vertebra is a vertebra, and it did not become something different from one year to the other, like putting an electrical device for paralyzed people. Great for paralyzed people, but not for lazy people. Yeah, okay, so, and what is also the case is that every movement on the ground, this is not a foreign movement, this is a movement we had to go through. And we have to reestablish if we want the functions back. That means every position, transitions are much more, but let's just focus on the positions in the statement, are benchmarks. If you cannot do this position, there's a dysfunction. Yeah, if you cannot shoot a ball from 16 meters into the corner of the goal, it is not necessary. It is just for fun, bored out, nothing else to do. But if you cannot stand up from the ground, it is threatening your existence. And that's the big difference. Everything on the ground, all the get-ups are life existence a necessary stuff. All the jumping and whatever comes later in natural skill development is already optional. It is not necessary to keep you healthy and adaptable. It is already specialization for a tribe that needs specialists to survive. But for you as an entity in itself, the developmental milestones, the ground to stand stuff is the most important stuff humans need to do to keep their function and form. Okay, so that should be the thing. But let me give you one information about the problem grown-ups have on the ground. So we are lacking mobility. And we're taking a system that is taken from humans that are have an abundance of mobility. But it is really easy. So we don't squeeze it and press it to fit it. It is just a thought and an application matter. So shortcut. The lying on the ground of a little child is the possibility to bring the abundance of mobility slowly over movements of leverages, of trying to rotate, of looking around, stability. Yeah. If you look at works of developmental milestones, there's not a lot. If you need a literature, we have one. You will see how it is all connected, how every grip is building something, how every head lifting is building something that you later need. Yeah? But the fineness of the stuff is getting lost because we built it up, we laid it down after getting into school, and then later, 10 years, 15 years later, we think about, oh shit, I should start to do something. And then you go full force after the example of other full force people, while there's the light years of gap of function. Yeah, all the soft stuff, the details, the fine regulation, the stability cascade we're talking about is completely destroyed. Not for everybody, because not everybody has the same life story. Other children were going to school and then they spent the rest of their time outside. Other children go to school and spend the rest of the time inside. So we are different in our evolution, but the mainstream nowadays is getting to complete immobility. Okay, and what do we do on the ground in a lying position to as this rigid person in comparison to a very mobile child? And the solution is very easy. In a lying state, gravity works least at us. And this gives us the possibility to work best on mobility because tension is not interfering. If mobility is being worked high up the developmental milestones, more and more tension is present, and mobility is getting different. If we want as best access to joints, it is best lying. If the getting breaking up the restrictions is then a natural progression through the developmental milestones. And this is why the developmental milestones can be used or are used in our system as a progressive system we don't have to take care of. We just have to bring the exercises we want to do for a specific reason in a specific sequence, starting on the ground, ending upright, because it has already the imminent progression from mobility prone positions to stability prone positions. And when we follow this sequence within one session, within a little block, within a little movement snack, it is always progressively. Your body has time to tension regulation down, mobility regulation up, and while coming up, it is slowly switched the other way around as it is naturally meant to be. mobility is getting a bit less and stability is getting up. So with this sequence and this method, we already have inbuilt progression. That is a necessary progression is necessary for learning, for optimal learning environment. Okay, so that's theory. Now let's go into practice. Shortcut, yeah, don't fear too much. So basic position we start with is supine line. Just what I said, yeah? You should be able to feel as soon as I'm lifting my arm, if the reflexes in the fine regulation is reestablished again or back again, you will immediately feel how the whole body reacts. So if I'm just thinking about lifting my arm, my abdominals are reflexively tensing up, reflexive stabilization. If the reflexive stabilization is good enough to protect the spine and to connect to the arm's length, leverage, and weight, the muscles are ready to start to evolve from global stabilizers, from local stabilizers to global stabilizers to global movers. And that's the stability cascade. That is completely lost. That's the fine regulation we want to establish, because this, in my 100% conviction, is responsible for joint problems. Good. Detail stuff. Let's go into the possibilities. So every position has the possibility to locomote in different directions and to lift and lower. So out of this position, I can have a very fast transition up. It's more like a already fast get up, or actually like a falling and intense, fast, explosive get up sequence. Okay, I can also go to the next phase, sitting. I can go to kneeling. Yeah? I can go to kneeling. I can go to standing. From sitting, I can go down. I can go to kneeling. From sitting, I can go to standing. So there's always in between, or all the connection of everything. It all depends on what is your goal. Locomotion. 2 types of locomotion. 3 types of locomotion. Rolling. No, 2 types. Ipsilateral, same body side. Contralateral body side. Rolling. Ipsilateral locomotion. Contralateral, shoulder creep, headward, feetward. Sideline as a transitional position. Movements like this, shrimping in martial arts. Circulation is a contralateral pattern. Okay, so we have position and we have transitions. Transitions can be just one turn, it can be multiple turns, rolling locomotion, it can be just one reach, it can be more reaches. Transitions, locomotion, become locomotions. The same in all other directions. Okay, then we have the next position. To get into the next position, we need a transition. Prone line, crawling, creeping, forward, backward, sideways, looking up. This is not a position change, we keep this calling a prone position, hand press up. Reaching slowly brings us into kneeling, slowly brings us into crawling, dragging, forward, backward, all the possibilities out of a position. The natural, the childlike way to get up from the ground from lying to the next phase is actually prone. Yeah? Children start here to lift the body, especially with the legs, strong and mobile. Arms lifting up, inefficient for a child. Later, when they are stronger in the upper body, they use it, but not at the beginning. At the beginning, the strong parts. Yeah. Getting up like this and sitting. Yeah. Some possibilities. Kneeling. Crawling position, knee hand position. Yeah. From supine lying, not a natural way to get up. It's a grown up, it's not a natural child way, it's a grown up way. Elbow roll. Spine roll. Rocking. And even more, but for the grown up skilled person. Good, sitting. Side bend sit. Open cross sit. Open sit. Long closed half bend sit. Upright half bend, closed half bend sit. And so on. Yeah. All positions are great for getting up directly, getting into crawling, all directions. Switching between the positions. All starts with reaching. Leaning, reaching, transition. Why are we doing this? Because of the conditioning. How we do this? Mechanics. Next phase is kneeling and the transitions from sitting to kneeling. Kneeling is sitting is defined by the butt is touching the ground. Kneeling is defined by the butt is not more touching the ground, but the minimum of one shin is touching the ground. Kneeling, shin and knee. Yeah. Kneeling. Basic half kneeling. Basic kneeling. Split kneeling, flexed foot. Basic kneeling, flexed foot. Open half kneeling. Open half kneeling, flexed foot. Why this or that? Conditioning. Conditioning ankle flexion, toe extension. Conditioning ankle extension, toe flexion. That's simple. Okay? Low kneeling in comparison to tall kneeling. Tall kneeling. Tall kneeling. As you see, there is not much. It is a very interesting development. Yeah? Low kneeling and sitting are quite related. There are some easy relationships, but when we really want to go up, bringing the points of support underneath the center of gravity makes the variation very little. And this is also then telling you kneeling is not very practical. Kneeling is more a transitional exercise. Yeah, so in functional fitness, functional movement systems, they or movement restoration system, they see kneeling as a transitional exercise. That's correct for the child's development. For grown-ups development or restoration application, they are very, very precious positions to initiate stability before or the lower intensity state than in standing. It means if somebody has problems standing on two legs, you bring him down and do the stuff in kneeling. because you can isolate here the hips work. If somebody has problems in standing, it can be the spine, it can be the hip, it can be the knee, it can be the ankle. If you want to address them, isolate them naturally, you just bring it closer to the ground. So that the progressions are already built in it. So also in a tall knee, so we have low kneeling, we just call it kneeling, and we have tall kneeling. And from tall kneeling, the rest is standing. So that the last developmental milestone in our vocabulary is single leg stance, or also my heel elevated standing. That's the maximum we can do. And then the real biped skills start. Walking, balancing, lifting, throwing, catching, jumping, climbing, vaulting. What we also included into the skill calculation is get-ups or skills. That's the first viable skill humans need to do to survive, as well as crawling. Both are not just static, practical on the ground and variations in it like sitting, but they are already very adaptable and very close related movements to higher skills. Get up and getting down is actually lifting. It is the first lifting skill, lifting your own body weight. Crawling is the first locomotive skill, efficient locomotive skill. Super related to climbing, walking, running, sprinting. Sitting in an open half band sit like this has no direct relation and no direct practical purpose. It is part of a get up and a static position on the ground for saving energy, having one leg here to hold yourself, to save energy in the spine when you hold something, a leg like this. Bent legs are generally just here for you to hold on with the arms and save energy in the spine. This is why we use bent legs in sitting, evolutionary seen or practically seen. And so that's actually the whole story of the developmental milestones and the positions. And as said, it makes most sense to use the developmental milestones to bring your body into a progressive development of conditional factors, mostly on mobility, stability, and pattern. And one more addition on this: while we as grown-ups are good situated on the ground, if we have mobility issues, even if it's a stability prone position, because we have very low tension there. And if we are low in tension, everything that we use nowadays in stretching exercises have the best effect in line. But if we have some progress here in the range of motion of mobility, it would be also in the sense of our approach to not stop here. So I've stretched my hip and then I went off again, because then it is more like an isolated stretching exercise that is more disadvantages for your nervous systems than has advantages, because pure mobility means too much freedom and danger. Your body always wants to be safe. And if you want to give him mobility, he needs to know why. And he needs to know for what purpose, to be able to connect it to the stability. That means if you are now more mobile, you did your stretching part on the ground, give him a bit of a sitting, give him a bit of this, give him a bit of this. And then he knows, okay, he needs it because he wants to get up and transition and sit like we have done it for millions of years. I can remember, yes, please keep the mobility because we want to do these movements again. Yeah, this, I'm sure, I'm 100% sure he talks like this. Yeah, he does not say, oh, wow, mobility. Okay, my hip joint doesn't work, so I've tightened it up. So it does its minimal job to function. So if the hip is tight, he can still walk and he can still maybe get home and relax at home. But until then, he needs to stiffen up. Yeah, and now comes the idea of I want more mobility. Yeah, and your nervous system tells you, "Whoa, shit! Someone is working on this leg," and it is like the saber tiger is coming and he's fighting, and okay, let him be a bit mobile, but afterwards it is unnecessary again because there was nothing of remembrance of a code of a relation to it, so it went away again. So you need to remind your body of the practical purpose of this movement. And if it is something that is evolutionary written into its DNA, your body is longing for it. It's waiting for it. It says, wow, after 20 years of Fanta or Coca-Cola as my main liquid fluid support, now I get the water and I can remember water is part of me, and let's keep it. I don't want to give it off again. Yeah, and that's the problem of, for example, muscle training. Muscle training for hypertrophy is something you need to keep up artificially. You need to train every day or every second day. You need to eat proteins because you actually don't need it, and your body want to get rid of it. It never needed it this way, and it doesn't need it now. It does not need volume and costs and energy expenditure. It needs function, safety, trust, efficiency. Yeah, so it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And this is why something like this like the movements doesn't need to be repeated that often because you avoid of them and it fills the voids, and it's not already too much, and you don't want this also not. Yeah, so this is the preciousness of going through developmental milestones alone every day, once or twice, or depending on your state. First, therapy yourself into the developmental milestones, and then you can reduce it again and just be fine with 20% of it. But it is a very, very important part of a human's life, and this is why we just took it. Yeah? And putting this into the combination of working on specific joints, using specific developmental milestones to work on specific joints and on specific joint function is exactly what little children are doing intuitively, and it's now our task to do it intentionally. And that's the whole story for today. I think this is a good overview over developmental milestones. This was not into full extent of the informations. This is the first layer. And during the certification, you get from different aspects, from different phases, more aspects why and how we are doing it. So thanks for your attention. Have a great day and see you in 2 weeks. Bye.